Yo, what's up everybody? And today we're going to be doing something a bit different than the norm. It's a collection tour video. I felt that this type of video was inevitable for the kind of channel that I have, so I thought that today would be the right day to do it. After all, 2 weeks ago in my Phantom Blood review, I showed the shelf that has my manga on it, so I thought I'd give you all a more in-depth view of my collection. However, I will say that I'm going to be pretty vague about my thoughts and feelings on these titles because, well, I'm going to be doing reviews of all of them. So I want to try and save my thoughts for those videos. That being said, right now I'm working on more reviews and I've got some other exciting videos coming up soon, so be on the lookout for that. To give a little backstory, I've been reading manga ever since middle school. But it's only been for the past year and a half that I've actively bought manga. Before, I mostly read through libraries or other totally legit means. So my collection's still pretty small and mostly consists of works from one artist in particular. But I still got some really good stuff to show you all. Starting at the top shelf here, I have all 6 volumes of Akira. Funnily enough, as soon as I finished getting Akira, the 35th anniversary box set came out, which on the one hand is absolutely gorgeous box set, but I think I'm going to keep the paperbacks for now. Also, speaking of Akira, I absolutely love the movie. The movie only really consists of the first 2 volumes of the manga though. There is one major difference that causes the manga to go on for another 4 volumes. So if you've only seen the movie, I would highly suggest at least checking out the manga. Next to that, we have Abandon the Old in Tokyo. This is a short story collection from Gekka pioneer Yoshihiro Tatsumi. So there are 3 Gekka short story collections that Drawn and Quarterly has put out. Abandon the Old Tokyo is the second one. The first one's called The Pushman, which I haven't read yet. And the third one's called Goodbye, which I have read, though it was a library copy. Then finally we come to Devilman, which my last review was Devilman, so you know my thoughts are on that already. Though if you haven't seen the video, I'll leave a link up here. I don't think I really mentioned it enough in my video, but this is a really nice release of Devilman. 7 Seas Entertainment's done a really good job with their classic collection. Also up here I have this Gunpla model. This is the Rx782 Gundam. Now this is actually the first Gundam model I've ever done, and I had a blast doing it. I'm definitely going to do some more, and when I do, I'm going to try and film them to post them on the channel, so look out for that. Moving on to my second shelf, we have my Rumiko Takahashi titles. Now Takahashi is probably one of my favorite artists of all time. And first up, we have Urusei Yatsura. This manga is incredibly funny. Next to that, we have Inuyasha. Now, Inuyasha holds a special place in my heart. I first began reading the series back in my freshman year of high school, though I never finished it, and so I've been picking up these Viz Big editions in order to reread it. Up next, we got Speed Racer, which was not just my first video review, but it was actually the first manga I ever bought. If you haven't seen that review, I'll leave a link to it. But if you have, then you know how much I gushed about this particular edition. DMP did a really great job with it. It's probably one of the best editions of any manga in my collection. Alright, now we get into the Tezuka stuff. So if it isn't quite obvious already, Tezuka is another one of my favorite artists of all time. And so I'm going to quickly skim through his releases and talk about any of note. First up, we have Crime and Punishment. This is a noteworthy title from Tezuka's Red Book period, back when he was still creating in Osaka. Now that particular edition of Crime and Punishment was actually out of print for quite a long time, But then a couple months back in December, Manga decided to reprint them, and so I snatched it up immediately, along with the next release, The Storm Fairy. Now, The Storm Fairy is interesting because it is 3 different shoujo manga that Tezuka did that are all too short to really warrant their own individual releases. After that is Captain Kin, Swallowing the Earth. Then we've got A Clockwork Apple and The Crater. Now, those 2 titles in particular are short story collections. A Clockwork Apple is more adult and mature works, while The Crater is a horror and science fiction shorts. After that, we have Trident of the Sea, which is the review that I'm currently working on. Then we have Ode to Kirihito, Apollo Song, The Book of Human Insects, Alabaster, Ayako, and Barbara, all of which are titles that come from Tezuka's dark period, which was in the late 1960s, early 1970s. The dark period is my favorite era of Tezuka to read, and so I pick up as many of those releases as I can. After that, we have Message Out Off, which was also out of print for quite a long time, and the value of those particular vertical editions were going up. But then out of nowhere in November, I guess they just found a crate of them in a warehouse somewhere because they restocked them online, and so I was able to pick up those 2 titles for retail price. I was very fortunate to do so because I did not want to buy the paperback editions that were still around. Those have dreadful covers on them. After that, we have Atom Cat, which is sort of like a parody of Astro Boy that Tezuka did in the 80s. And finally, we have Ludwig B. That is unfortunately one of Tezuka's unfinished works. Finally, onto the bottom shelf, we have 17 volumes of Astro Boy. The 18th volume is currently in the mail, so I'm waiting to get that. Once I do get it, I'll be 5 volumes away from completing Astro Boy. When I first started buying up these little individual volumes, I thought about just getting the more recent multi-volume Dark Horse releases, but I decided against it because A, it wouldn't be any cheaper to me, and B, because I liked having all the covers. And then finally on this shelf we have my Muscleman manga. I have volume 1 of Fist of the North Star, which I just recently got. The second volume is supposed to come out in September, so I cannot wait to pick that up. Then next to that we have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood and Battle Tendencies. Now I've already reviewed Phantom Blood, and I'm planning on doing Battle Tendencies probably sometime this year. We'll have to see though. That isn't all when it comes to manga, however. I also have this wonderful box set of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which came with a beautiful poster. And these 2 volumes of Lupin III, which are probably the crown jewels of my collection. You see, the Tokyo Pop releases of Lupin III have been out of print for quite a while now, so some volumes are quite rare to find, and the rest are just pretty expensive to me. I was able to get these 2 volumes for a pretty good price though. And that's basically it. Now, there's actually one more manga that I didn't show in this video, and that's because my next video is going to be a review of that manga, so be on the lookout for that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time.